Right. Good evening to those who are with us. I can see some of you guys are struggling to stay connected. There's people coming on and then falling off again. Let's hope my connection stays fairly stable tonight as well. Can I just get a thumbs up or a comment in the chat box? Can you guys hear me all right? Assuming everything's cool that you can hear me. And what I haven't done yet, by the way, is shared my screen. So let me share. I'm just going to share my entire screen. And that should plunge us into the tunnel of death, as we call it. And then let me, okay, so we are recording. And then let me share my PowerPoint presentation. Okay, as we go along, if you've got questions, please feel free to ask questions. Is there anything anybody wants to ask up front before we even get started? Let me just close that and come back to this. Any comments or questions from anybody up front?
Hi, Tim.
Yeah, how's it? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to find out, are you going to go through the next assignment step by step, or are you just going to pick on some key parts of it?
No, I'm planning to go through the questions, pretty much similar to what I did at the end of the last session, but in slightly more detail.
Okay.
And then if you've got questions as we go through, then please feel free to just interrupt and ask. When I am sharing my slides, I actually cannot see the chat box. I can hear it it normally does a blip as it just tells me a message has been left.
Okay.
But feel free to, this is for all of you, please feel free just to unmute and say, excuse me, can I just ask something quickly? I will not mind at all, please.
Okay, no problem. Because some of the questions are a bit ambiguous, especially when it comes to the mark rubric.
Okay,
So,
well, let's work through it as we go through. Cool.
Okay, no problem. Thanks.
Great. Okay, then let's get back to this. So tonight we are Wednesday, the 8th of June. It's just gone 7 p.m. and it's the kind of final NSS, which is the national support session for the final task of the POE. Just to confirm the ICE tasks, they had to be in by a couple of weeks ago now. I think it was the Friday the 27th. Task 1 and 2 has been done and dusted, and hopefully you guys have had access to your marks already on those. And then the final task of the POE is due next Wednesday by 9 p.m. and it accounts for 35% of the mark. The questions that go into this scenario are: activity 1 is to resubmit task 1 with corrections. Activity 2 is to resubmit task 2 with corrections. Those are both worth 5 marks. Activity 3 is a discussion around ICE tasks for 5 marks. Activity 4 is a resource assignment matrix for 25 marks. And then activity 5 is the Gantt chart or project solution using project software, and that is with 50 marks. That's the bulk of this section of the assignment. And then lastly, there's a short reflection report for 10 marks. So to go through these, activities 1 and 2, I'm going to discuss together because they are basically identical activities, but you are having to do, obviously activity 1 is for task 1 of the POE and activity 2 is for task 2 of the POE. These two together form a total of 10 marks, so they're 5 marks each, and I'll come back to the mark allocation shortly. So this activity is the collection of POE task 1 and 2 activities submitted in the semester. Ensure that you submit A, the marked POE task showing the final mark and lecturer's feedback. Now, I have crossed that one out because in this note I've put down at the bottom here, you do not need, I'm telling you, you do not need to resubmit your entire POE task 1 and POE task 2, as these have already been uploaded on the system. In other words, you've uploaded them. Your submission is there, plus my comments back to you are there. So what I'm saying is just submit the sections in which you have made corrections. So as per, well, let me go back to the beginning here. Task A, under this, submit your POE task. Don't do that because I can see everything. Just submit for part B. Sorry, my mouse is going a bit loopy here. Task B, updated and corrected POE task as per the lecturer's feedback. So all you need to do is put in your corrections. Now, what I haven't mentioned here is it's useful to actually highlight those in a different color. And I will actually put that on the slide before I upload the slides. But it's nice to see where you've made changes to your original submission. If you make changes and corrections, just highlight those in some way, either with background highlighting or different color text, different color font. It helps me to see where you've made corrections. And then you would also give a brief explanation of what was recommended and how you have implemented those recommendations. Okay, so you take the comments I made on your POE task 1 and the comments on POE task 2, and based on those comments, make some corrections and submit those. Now, I just want to add down the bottom here. Please note, these two activities account for 10% of the final task mark, and therefore actually for just 3.5% of your total course mark. Now, I've said this before, and I'm going to repeat it again now. Don't spend hours doing updates and corrections to every part of your submission for two reasons. One, it's worth only 10% combined. These two questions account for 10% combined of this part of the assignment, which when put into the total course mark comes to just 3.5%. And secondly, by doing the corrections, you do not get a changed mark on your original submission. So if you got 55% for task 1 and you make corrections now, your 55% doesn't change. It stays at 55%. So the mark you got for task 1 and the mark you got for task 2 remains that mark. You can't change that. So what I'm saying is the most you'll get out of this whole exercise if you do it. And by the way, some of this exercise, as you see, just in submitting, you get a couple of marks. Showing that you've done some updates and corrections, you'll get a mark or two. And a brief discussion of that, you'll get some marks there. I mean, it's a total, all of these three together come to 5 marks for question 1 and another 5 marks for question 2. So what I'm saying is please don't spend hours on this because it doesn't justify it. It doesn't really improve your mark much. You're going to get, out of 10 marks, you can easily get 7 or 8 marks just for showing that you've done some correction. So what I'm suggesting also, don't update and correct everything because also I'm not going to remark everything. I just want to see that the purpose of this exercise, of these activities, is to show that you have looked through my comments to you and you've taken note of what's been said. So take a sample of stuff and work on that. Do some corrections and show that you've done some corrections. Lastly, what was I going to say? It keeps slipping out my mind. For those tasks, yeah, just submit those. Flip, I'll see, it might come back into my head, but there was something else just to note. But yeah, that's what these questions amount to, activities 1 and 2. It's just to show that you've given some thought to the comments that are made to you guys. Also, yeah, what I was going to say is the mark you got. If you got like 75% and above for your original stuff, or even around about 70 and more, greater than that in your previous assignment submissions, I actually didn't really give many comments for you to make corrections on. And especially if you got 80, 85% or 90%, then you know, that in my view is almost full marks. And I really didn't give much guidance, and I just really said, well done, you did great. There's, you know, there's not a great deal you can do to improve that. It's not like mathematics, these sorts of submissions. It's not like mathematics where technically in a mathematics test you can get 100% because it's either wrong or right. In this sort of submission, it's actually quite difficult to get you know, full marks, because there's always going to be some elements that are slightly well, it's just difficult to hand out full marks for everything. So if you got like around about 75% and more, then your comments might be that the facilitator, or, you know, this is referring to me now, in your brief explanation, you would just say, I got a good mark in my first submission, and the facilitator gave me no recommendations for improvements. And that's all you can write there. Any questions on these first two activities? Yeah, go ahead.
Excuse me. Yeah, so I'm still a bit unsure on what to submit, because like you said, I don't have much comment, so you just put in a mark. Maybe I lost 5 marks on a work breakdown structure or whatever it was.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
How do we actually really correct or update and correct something like that?
Well, yeah, I agree. This is where I find this whole exercise a little bit frustrating, and I feel for you in yeah, and perhaps I shouldn't say this, but I personally wouldn't design a question like this because I don't think it's it's really a valid thing. But if you just put in particularly part C here, and just say there were no real recommendations for improvements, I got a good mark, and as can be seen from what was uploaded before, then that's fine. I would give you, you know, basically all of the marks here for that.
So should I still screenshot a section maybe where I've got 25?
Yeah, you could screenshot. Yeah, you could screenshot a couple of sections where I might have, you know, given you the mark, even though I might not have put a comment about improving anything.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, thanks.
Magic, any other questions from anyone? Then activity 3, and this again is a little bit similar because you are recapping or going over again stuff that's been done before. This has to do with the ICE tasks. You're required to select one best ICE task that you submitted, mark by a lecture, and return to you with feedback. Write a short explanation stating which task is your best. Focus, and again, the wording on this is confusing, and they've changed it in the other group's assignment. They say you must put together all 4 or 5 ICE tasks and say which out of those was your best. But that's really what they're asking for. Out of the 4 or 5 ICE tasks you did, which was great. Now, these questions down here give a better guidance, but let me just finish reading this. Write a short explanation stating which task is your best. Focus on the knowledge, hard skills, and soft skills learned. You may use the following headings. So A, describe at least 4 ICE tasks that you completed. Which of the 4 is your best? What about and what were you expected to do? How did you do this task? You just, you know, did some research or whatever it was. I read the chapter involved. What knowledge did you acquire, and what are the hard and soft skills that you learned in relation to that ICE task that you chose to discuss here? Now, it says, submit all 4 ICE tasks and 1 consolidated report on those 4 ICE tasks. Now, this part that I've crossed out here, submit all 4 things, I'm saying, don't do that. Do not submit ICE tasks again. Why? Because you've already uploaded them or completed them online, and you actually, for a lot of those online quizzes, you can't upload those, as it were. They are already there. So all you need to do is write this little report about your ICE task activities. Does that make sense? Just write this little report about your ICE task activities. Don't resubmit anything. Because either you can't or it's all there already. So hopefully that's clear enough. So again, it's just a brief report. And remember, it's also worth just 5 marks. And that 5 marks is ultimately out of, over 300 marks if you combine all the assignment tasks together. So it's 5 out of 100 for this assignment, but it's actually 5 out of 300 and something if you add all of it up. So it's a small percentage. It's actually 1,75, I think it is, percent that you can get, and you're going to get most of these marks anyway just by giving a brief discussion. Cool. So that's activity 3. Any questions on that?
Excuse me, everyone.
Yeah, go ahead.
For the hard and soft skills, is it fine just to list 1 hard skill and 1 soft skill?
Yeah, I would also give a very short, 1 or 2 sentence description on what you mean by that and why did that, why did you learn that? Where did you pick that up?
So does that need to actually be taken from that ICE task, or can it be what we've learned within the project management course that we've been doing?
It can be it's obviously related to the project management course, but it should ideally be related to this the one of the 4 that you chose to discuss.
Okay.
Or it should relate in some way to the ICE tasks, because this is actually an ICE task discussion.
Okay, no problem.
This question F at the bottom here is actually slightly repeated in the reflection report, which we'll come to a bit later. But that's for the whole course, not just the ICE tasks. This question here is in relation to the ICE tasks.
Okay, no problem.
Good. Any other questions? Let me just check that. There's no queries from anyone. That's cool. That's fine. So we're on track. Okay, so that was activity 3, which was the ICE task discussion. Then we come to activity 4, and this has to do with resources. And it's saying to us here, one of the most important resources available to project management is the people who will work for them. In your project, you require not less than 5 resources. More than 5 is allowed. Create a resource assignment matrix for the project, and the matrix should show the following information. The resource, in other words, you name the resource, and that's for 5 marks. The quantity for that resource for 2 marks. The responsibility, 2 marks. Activities that they do, 2 marks. Duration for 2 marks. And then there's another 2 marks thrown in for the overall kind of layout and look of your, or just the feel of it. It's kind of 2 marks spare for me to play with in marking your matrix. It's covered on pages 135, 36. Attached to the matrix, provide the following explanation. Now, this is important because the second part actually jumps onto the next page and some students miss it. You've got to do 2 things here. Let me just move this out the way again. So here we're going, how you must explain. Remember, you must provide an explanation. How the required resource was identified and estimated for 5 marks. So how was that identified, and how did you go about estimating the hours attached or days of work attached to that resource? And then how will the resource be managed using a determined resource management plan? And this is covered on pages 137, 38. And you need to give a little bit of a discussion of the theory of a resource management plan as given down here, and that's for 5 marks. Okay, so this section here, the top section, is worth 10 marks, 5 there and another 5, sort of 10 marks there. Sorry, it's a total of 15. So the first part of the question is for 15 marks. 5 plus 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 makes 15. And then there's 5 marks for this part and 5 marks for this, for a total of 25 marks. Okay. So don't forget these 2 questions at the bottom here. How was it identified and estimated? And how will it be managed using a determined resource management plan? and just give some discussion around that for answering. Okay, so any questions for activity 4? All good. Okay, great. Then we come to, oh, sorry, let me just give you some more guidance on this for activity 4. Here is a sample of a matrix that I put together just as an example. Yours doesn't have to follow this exact format, but this is just to give you a feel. It's obviously the resource with its name, programmer, financial manager, painters, and actual paint. So not all resources are humans. Some of them are actually materials or other things, equipment you might have to hire. Quantity, we need 2 programmers, 1 financial manager, 4 painters, and 400 liters of paint. Now, the responsibility I've written at the bottom means who is responsible for managing that resource. The programmers, they are the responsibility of the head of IT. The IT head is responsible for looking after and managing those programmers. The painters, who's responsible, takes the responsibility for the painters? The site manager. Who takes the responsibility for the paint? The site manager. Okay, so that's the responsibility is who is responsible for managing that resource. And activities means what that resource will be doing or be involved with. So here are your activities that will be coding the app, the financial from one project. I'm just trying to show you various ways in which you could show them. And then duration is how many hours or days or whatever will they be working on the project in total. So the paint will be used over the 5 days for each painter over here, and so on. So that's just a very simple kind of basis of which to work in terms of doing your resource assignment matrix. Now, this assignment matrix, as I've said already, gives you 15 marks. Other 10 marks in this question is answering those 2 questions at the bottom. How are these resources identified and estimated? And then how will they be managed using a determined resource management plan? Okay, if you do think of questions as a bit later, we can come back to them, so don't panic. Let's go into activity 5. And as I've said, this is the main question really for this part of the assignment. It's worth 50 marks, and it's not that difficult to get, 30 to 40 marks here. It's not that difficult if you just do the basics and get the basics right. Obviously, if you go above and beyond the basics, you can get to 45 or even, even slightly more marks, 48 marks. So it says create a Gantt chart, and they're saying don't give theory about Gantt charts. You've got to actually submit a Gantt chart. Now, if you are using software, do not use the table template on page 20 of, I think it's, I must just double check. There's a table template. So most of you, I think all of you will be using Team Gantt or something like that. So I just want to go to the paper and show you for this activity. It says here, and I'm hoping you can see this on my shared screen. Let me just zoom in a bit. It says here in the section you're required to create a project and a Gantt chart, etc. The question can be completed using software. Create a Gantt chart. The Gantt chart should include but be not limited to the following information. Now, this table can get used if you were not using any software at all. Flip, this table is being ugly here. This table here, you don't need to use it. These are just headings that should be included in some way in the Gantt chart itself. But don't give me your Gantt chart in this format. That's what I'm saying. You must actually give a Gantt chart using some kind of software, Team Gantt or some other Gantt chart software. So this table is actually a bit misleading. So you don't have to submit using this table. It's just to give you some guidelines on what's required. So coming back to the question, you must provide at least 20 activities or lines on your Gantt chart. So at least 20 activities. And those 20 activities should preferably not be including your summary tasks, your summary lines. So it should be at least 20 activities together with some milestones. And that's for 10 marks. Each activity must have a number, a name, a duration, which gets shown on the Gantt chart and on the start and end dates, the schedule, and the sequence with dependencies. Now, I've given you obviously the name is there in the original 20 activities. Durations accounts for 4 marks. Scheduling accounts for 4 marks, so how they are, where they fit in. And then you must show dependency lines. And in other words, what activities are dependent on other activities, and that's for 10 marks. That's an important part. Then there must be phases, summary tasks, deliverables, and work packages. There's 10 marks for me to play with there in terms of showing all of those elements. Then on Team Gantt, you can assign 3 people, including yourself, and 5 what are called labels. And Team Gantt uses the word labels to mean actually resources. So what I'm suggesting is you use, well, it gives you a total. You can have 3 people plus 5 labels. In other words, when you're using the free version of Team Gantt, you've got a maximum of 8 things to play with. So what I'm saying is use the 3 people, and then out of these 5 labels, you can take another couple of them to give them people names, and then just have a couple of equipment type resources that you would show in that. Okay, you must show at least 6 milestones for 4 marks. So let me just come back here. Sorry, the resources or labels that you show is 4 marks. The milestones, you must have at least 6 of those. That's for 4 marks. And then there's 4 marks for showing the budget for your project. It's not a lot of marks, but you do need to show some kind of project budget, just a brief breakdown of the main elements of the project and the financial numbers for that. The marking rubric is on page 23 to give you some guidance on that. So just to give you a sample here, there's a milestone. These are summary tasks or phase tasks and summary tasks. This is a well indented one, so you've got your main tasks showing here 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then under those you've got, for instance, under 3 you've got 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, and under each of those you've got subtasks, specific activities that need to be done. And here you've got good lines connecting everything, showing. Now, don't just show. I'm giving you a caution here. Your Gantt chart should not just be a cascade where there's a task, a line, 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 and so on, and all the way down. Sorry, that line went the wrong way. If your Gantt chart looks just like that, where there's a bar and a line, a bar and a line going down, that's not realistic. There's virtually no projects in the world would work like that. You'll have a task and it will be connected to at least, maybe 2 or 3 other tasks. And then this one might join to a task here, and that one joins to a task there. And that might also, these 2 might join to a task down here. Sorry, just leave that out. But I'm just trying to show you that where you've got, here various lines joining and so on, that's more realistic than just a simple cascade. If it's just a simple cascade, then that's not realistic. So also make sure you've got milestones showing. Just to caution, here's a milestone, and this next slide is zoomed in a little bit. What's missing here is actually there should be 2 other columns here, which give the start date and the end date. It's useful to show those. Although obviously the dates are implied in the activity bars here. But here you've got a milestone that's not connected to anything. There's no, there's no dependency line to that milestone, which is a bit of a problem. It's just a freestanding hanging milestone. And in reality, that also would not be the case. So watch out for those sorts of things. And then what's missing from here as well is the resource names. There's no resources attached. Here's a better one. This is the slightly zoomed out view of it. Let me zoom in again. So you've got, although these activities are not numbered on this version, it's slightly better because you've got your various summary things and subtasks. The dates are showing here, the columns showing properly. And then you've also got the resources assigned to these various activities and milestones. And it's all showing here nicely, and different colors and whatnot showing. So that's sort of what we are aiming for with the Gantt chart. I did cover the Team Gantt in more detail in the collab held on 21 April. The link to the video of the session is below. It's this link here. And I do start discussing Team Gantt about 28 minutes into this session. So if you want some guidance on Team Gantt again, you can check out this link. And then also there are some YouTube videos which are put out by Team Gantt themselves as to how to get started on Team Gantt, but you should be way past that by now. If you haven't started looking at Team, then you've still got quite a bit of work to do. Any questions on the Gantt chart?
I have a question.
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
Submit it. We obviously send you screenshots of what we've got. I'm not sure how we're supposed to.
No.
Okay,
What you must do, you have to upload a PDF of it. Now you can either incorporate it into your main document, or you can upload more than one document for your assignment. There's a way to do that. So you can upload, and many students upload like a PDF or Word document for the text of their document, and then the Gantt chart is a separate file that they upload as a PDF. Now, I demonstrated this in Team Gantt. Let me call this up quickly. Go to Team Gantt, and I'm hoping this doesn't take too long because of this being online. I don't have the highest speed connection, sadly. But if you just bear with me, I've got a project here which I'd set up as a demo, I think for either a previous group or for you guys. And you've got your different tasks here. Okay, I'm just adding in random stuff. And you'd put that in there and put that in there and have lines joining to them, and so on. Okay, and then you would have your resources thrown in as well. So that's showing. Now, if to print that to PDF, you go to, and I'm hoping you're watching here, go to Menu, Print Export to PDF, and it calls this up, and you can change a couple of settings here. Just play with some stuff. It might be useful to change the font to make it slightly bigger if you want to. There's a couple of other options to do here. Just trying to see there. And then you say View PDF, and it comes up with this view like this. Then you can download this, and it downloads the PDF file for you to your computer, and then you can upload that. So once you're happy with this final view and you've got everything nice and neat the way you like it, you say export to PDF, as we've just done here under the menu bar, print or export to PDF, and it comes up with this, and you download it, and then you upload that with your assignment. Does that answer your question?
Yes, 100%. Thank you.
Magic. Excellent. Any other queries around Gantt charts? Okay. So as I've said, we covered that in the collab on the 21st, and there's some more guidance around on that stuff. Then the last question is a reflection report, which you have to do, and this is for 10 marks. It's done in 2 sections. This question has 2 parts to it. It can be a little bit confusing, but there's 2 parts to it. They are not numbered. I'm using it to distinguish them. The first is to answer the 5 questions on page 24 of the assignment. Okay. Sorry, my mouse is really playing silly buggers here with the highlighting. And then part B is to attach a scan of the rubric on pages 25, 26, and you write in your score based on how you would score yourself. Include your student number on the rubric. And so you basically have to rate yourself. I look at, for most students, I kind of agree with the rating they give themselves. If I feel strongly that the rating you've given yourself is not correct, you've been either too hard on yourself and you deserve a better mark. I look at compared to what I think you've done, I might take a mark or 2 off out of the 10 marks here. So the 5 questions are, how would you define reflection? And just to highlight, when we talk about reflection here, we're not talking about standing in front of a mirror. I've had students who say reflection is the image you see in a mirror. Reflection in this context has to do with thinking about something. Okay, so you can look and find out what does it mean to you to reflect on something. Then, what did you learn from completing tasks 1 and 2? What did you learn from having to correct tasks 1 and 2 as per the feedback from your lecturer? What did you learn from having to use the updated tasks 1 and 2 to complete your final POE task? So, based on my feedback to you and my guidance to you, what did you learn going into doing your final submission, which is what's due next Wednesday? And then did all the tasks, including the final POE, help you to understand how a project may be managed and administered from beginning to end? Provide a well thought out reason for your answer. In other words, you know, what have you picked up about project management? Don't just say, you know, the easy answer to this question, it says, did all the tasks help you to understand? Yes. Yes, it helped me to understand. That's not what we're looking for. Give a little bit of a thought out reason as to, you know, what you learned and how it has helped you or how it will help you going forward. Okay. So now let me just go back to this actual question in the POE. I just want to go back here and look at this task 6 as it's shown here. As it says here, in the section, you're required to write a reflection report. Here are the questions you have to answer, okay? And then what you have to do is on page, where is it? 25. This is the page where you rate yourself. So you put your student number in at the top here. You're gonna basically what you must do is print this page, write in your student number and your score here. And so the score here is out of 3. You can get 3 marks for, oh, sorry, where's it go here? Just bear in mind, now there's 3 sections. There's a reflection section, and you can get a maximum of 3 for that. So your score here would be out of 3. Unfortunately, I'm just trying to think, can I write on this? No, that's just sign. That's not what I want. Sorry, I'm just trying to see where I can do some scribbling. I don't want to redact. Oh, darn it. Okay, never mind. So the reflection side is here, and you can get a maximum of 3 marks in this box out on the right-hand side. Then there's demonstration of learning, and again, you can get a maximum of 3 marks coming across here, and you put 3 marks there. And then this last box actually overlaps onto the page below. It's organization of report and clarity of report. And again, that's up to 3. And the criteria drop over into this section, and it's 3 marks. Then, right at the bottom, demonstration that learning has taken place. There's 1 spare mark for that, giving you 10 marks. So rate yourself, give yourself a score out of 3, 3, 3, and 1. Add that up and put your score at the bottom. You give yourself 8 out of 10, or if you think you're brilliant, you can give yourself 10 out of 10. But obviously, I will cross-check that and give the mark that I feel is right for that. But they're just wanting you to go through the process of thinking through this whole course and what you've learned and how you've gone about processing on this course. So that's the reflection report. Any questions on that? Okay, then to wrap up for referencing, and I'm not going to go through the whole referencing thing again. There are our librarians available, there's guidance available on that, and I've covered this in previous sessions. All I'm going to highlight is the following couple of points here, please. Firstly, you must include in-text referencing. You must have a list at the end of your document of at least 3 works or sources, and it must be at the end of your final task submission. In addition to your referencing that you did in task 1 and 2, you must have another set, not of different works, it can be the same works, but your list of references must appear also at the end of this final task. Okay. Now, your in-text referencing, as I've said before, for the Gantt chart, you should have a reference to where did you learn about Gantt chart? Where did you do this Gantt chart? You should at least have a reference to teamgantt.com if you're using that software. Where did you learn about resources? Where did you pick up about what a resource assignment matrix is? A determined resource management thing. Where did you pick that up? So in the text, as you go through the assignment, there should be next to each main section that you're answering at least 1 in-text reference saying where you've picked this stuff up. Okay, so because obviously the basis of this course is it's a self-study course, you should have used the textbook or other sources to pick things up as you've gone along. So you must have in-text referencing, you must have at least 3 works listed in your list of references. And if you have an in-text reference, that work that you have referenced must appear also in your reference list. So you can't have an in-text reference where you talk about Smith. Okay, let's say you have an in-text reference, Smith 2017. Okay, that's an in-text reference, Smith 2017, and you quote him or her, and you're referring to the fact that Smith from a book in 2017 or a website from 2017 assisted you in answering this question. And then your list of references has no mention of Smith and a book published or a website that you looked at in 2017, or there was a book that was published in 2017. If your reference list doesn't contain a reference that you gave as an in-text reference, that's quite a serious error in referencing. So be careful of that. And then failure to provide both in-text references and a list of references. If you don't have both of those, if there's no in-text references or there's no list of references, 10% will be deducted from your mark. And in future courses that you might do with Varsity College, you run the risk of more serious consequences. But the guideline, the referencing rubric requires that if you haven't provided these things, I have to take 10% off your mark. And then if there are other less severe referencing errors, if there's a whole bunch of little errors, then 5% gets deducted. Now, I'm not too hectically strict on referencing, but I am compelled by this. If you don't have in-text referencing or you don't have a list of references, 10% is going to come off. So if I mark your assignment and you get 62% for your assignment, and you've got serious referencing issues, your mark will be dropped to 52%. Okay. If there are less serious errors, your mark will be dropped by 5%. So that's just to caution you, make sure you do your referencing right, because we are in an academic context and it's expected that you comply with academic integrity in the work that you submit. It's just a standard requirement and expectation within an academic sphere. And it's good integrity, it's good practice to honor those who've provided this information for us. Okay, and there's very good guidance around doing that. Any questions on anything, referencing or anything else we've discussed tonight? Because I've basically come to the end of what I needed to talk about. Any questions from anyone? Okay, the deafening silence is encouraging. I'm hoping I've answered most of your questions and put you at ease. So basically, you've got 1 week and 1 hour in which to submit. And I just want to encourage you one last time, please don't leave it to the last 5 minutes to submit, because if something goes wrong, it's a big mess. You know, if you are 10 seconds late in your submission, I'm not allowed to mark it unless you apply for a special concession or whatever it's called, not a special concession, but you have to lodge an appeal and say why you were late. It's got to be a valid reason, and then only then can I mark it. And that might take 2 or 3 or 4 weeks after you've submitted. And you might actually get turned down if your reason is not a valid reason for being late. So please don't leave it to the last minute. Try to submit it a good couple of hours before the time is due, 9 o'clock next Wednesday. So from my side, guys, thanks very much. I'll stay online a bit longer for anyone who might have further questions or want to ask anything or say something, but you're free to depart and leave. I will put up the recording and slides tomorrow morning onto YouTube and onto VC Learn. So well done, guys, and we'll hopefully keep in touch, and good luck to you in wrapping up this last section of the assignment. I wish you well, and well done for all the work you've done so far. Cheers then.
That's a quick one.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so what happens once the last assignment is submitted?
My understanding is that I am pleasure, Timani. What my understanding is, I mark it. I've got that have been submitted. I usually, because this is a smaller group, try to get it done quicker than that, depending on my workload as well outside of Varsity College. But I basically mark it, and as per the other ones, within a couple of days, your mark will be released, and you should know your final mark, because that should also be on the system somewhere. Beyond that, I'm not sure what happens in the way of issuing you with any kind of certificate or whatnot. I'm actually not sure what the process is there. It might be worth you guys, if you want to just put in a question to VC Assist and ask, because you guys are doing a kind of a short learning program, a standalone course. Sorry, I can't answer your question more fully, but I'm actually not sure what the ultimate end process is.
Not a problem. I'll try and find out. VC Assist is not really helpful.
Yeah.
Because I lodged the, I think there was a query the last time about the link. I still never heard anything back until you sorted it out.
Shucks, yeah. I know they've been swamped, the guys, and that's no excuse. You guys are all paying students, and you deserve to get answers. But the semester got off to a very rough start with computer hassles. Their whole system got redone, and there were major hassles going into the semester, and they're still actually trying to catch up, the poor guys. So I just pass that on by way of explanation. You guys don't deserve it. As paying customers, it's not fair, and the service should be better, but that's kind of been the reality. But I will try to make sure that, in fact, I think I've opened up the link already. I think for one of my groups, it was closed, and I've opened it. So it should be, the link might be worth checking now, but I think the link for submitting is open and available already.
I'll actually have a look and see, because I don't have the same issue I did, or we did the,
Yeah,
I think it was the day
yeah.
before.
Well, I will also make sure a couple of days before that the link is definitely open. I'm not going to run that risk again. I didn't know, and it's not my job to open that link. It's actually, you know, it sits with an admin somewhere to do that. So it was
Okay.
only because I kind of stepped in that well, I just took it on myself to do that. So I will try and make sure that issue is avoided this time.
Not a problem. I appreciate it.
Pleasure. Go well,
Okay.
Romain.
Thanks, Tim. You too.
Cheers, then. Go well. Any last questions from anyone? If not, cheers then, go well, and we'll see you around sometime.